Now I have in studio Dr. Roselyne Akombe. She is a commissioner at the IEBC, and of course this is their season to give us the reassurance that they are ready for the elections, but also to compare notes and get some experience. We have Professor Mandla Mchunu from South Africa. He is the first Chief Electoral Officer of the Independent Electoral Commission of South Africa. Thank you for joining us. And you were both at the National Election Conference today. I'll start with Dr. From the response and the attendance, do you feel that it was given the expected treatment and respect in terms of attendance? We see NASA leader, but the president wasn't there.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. I think we've been very pleased with the attendance of Kenyans, the Kenyan voters, who are our #1 stakeholder in both yesterday's events and today, and especially the exhibitions. We've been getting quite a large number of people visiting the various stalls, looking at what is happening, learning more about our electoral technology, learning more about what polling day would look like. So we've been very impressed. We've had so far more than 1,600 Kenyans coming out to see what is going on. In terms of the conference itself, the opening ceremony today, I think it was very good that we had Right Honorable Raila Odinga there to give his own remarks, and we did have the statement from the president.
Right.
And I think in general, I think the 2 days have gone on very well. You know, the expectations we see from the Kenyans are very high. Expectations both on issues of integrity, on issues of credibility, and also on issues of transparency and peace. So those messages came out very strong throughout the day.
Right. And Professor Mandla Mchunu, you were part of this particular conference, and you have, you know, a great experience in terms of preparedness for elections. And, you know, it's said that South Africa is ahead of us in terms of being able to carry this particular exercise in a more organized manner. You've heard the issues around the whole voting experience in terms of preparedness, and tallying has been one that has been prickly. In your experience, what works in terms of the tallying exercise and the tallying process for elections?
Yeah, I think the tallying process, because it's a process that precedes the results, you know, gets a bit sensitive.
Right.
You know, it's quite a point of climax. It always depends what kind of system you're using. You know, if you're using an electronic system, one would argue, because if electronics work, they work well. You know, then you can see in South Africa we have a results center, which has got big screens. You know, so the big screens give you the transparency you require. As the results trickle in, you can see them like a Bowser, you know, petrol Bowser coming in.
Right.
You know, so the political agents that are in the results center, I think here it's going to be in the Bomas, are the ones who are reporting back, you know, to headquarters, that from results from this county or province have come in, you know, we are at this level. So by the time the tallying happens, you know, in South Africa, the confidence in the results is up. So there's something to be said about the fact that when do people actually start to see the results?
Yes, and something that is being at least prepared in the minds of Kenyans is that the main parties will have their independent tallying centers. Do you see this as a problematic scenario, especially when the numbers start coming in?
Yeah, well, you know, I remember the Zambian experience where civil society organized something like that, which was like, there's a specific name they use, because you're almost shadowing, you know, the tallying system, so that you will compare. I think the difference was very slight with the civic society-based organizations and the IEBC.
So what are the main parties? Has it ever been?
Yeah, if the parties do it, I think they've got the right to do that. And the IEBC has a duty to avail the information, because it's transparency. But I think the thought from Zambia is that the IEBC can also say to civic organization structures, why don't you do your tally also on the side, because that tally gives credence to our tally, and that it should be done independently.
Yes.
So in that sense, it's almost like tripartite.
Dr. You can tell us in terms of the position of the IEBC and their attitude towards this form of parallel tallying, and whether it's, you know, it's allowed and you expect it, and, you know, is it in a way saying they're not confident of the main process from the IEBC? That's why they have a backup of sorts?
I think, Mark, we have to acknowledge where we are as a country. We are a country that doesn't trust our institutions. We are a country that, and maybe there are reasons for it. You know, but it is a reflection of that. It is a reflection of the mistrust. But I think in all fairness, transparency is one of the things that the IEBC has been making a very strong case about. And we have said Chairman Chebukati has been on record saying that we do not have a single problem with any political party having their own tallying. And actually, they do it all the time. As I've said before, even MCAs have their own agents where they call around and ask them how many votes did I get in this polling station and how many did I get in this. So I mean, in full transparency, yes, civil society should do that. The media should definitely do that. And we are going to be making that information available. As we've said, results will be transmitted from the polling stations. As per the law, results as announced at the polling stations are final. And so they could be used as a basis for tallying, independently and be able to keep us in check, because that is what we would welcome as the IEBC. I'd
throw it first to Dr. Akombe just to give her initial reactions about the adverts in media by political parties and whether this is illegal.
I mean, I think we are watching very carefully everything that is going on in terms of campaigning. Chairman Chebukati has been talking a lot about the code of conduct and ensuring that we are political parties that have signed up and candidates that have signed up to the code of conduct stick by it. On Thursday, this Thursday, the Chairman Chebukati will be convening a meeting of the Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee of the Commission, and we have a few cases that we will be looking at. Some of them might relate to what we have seen in this report, and we obviously are concerned with some of the, not just some of the ads, but also the rhetoric that we are seeing out there. So we are willing to look at, we are ready, not willing, but ready to look at some of these cases and take action as we are provided for in the law.
Action being the key word here, because as one of your main clients, that is the opposition, and as the flag bearer today expressed his concern about the use of what he says the country's resources to campaign. And where do you draw the line here? Because you see Jubilee leadership going with checks to different parts of the country and promise this and that in the name of campaigns. How do you separate?
No, I mean, I think the laws are very clear in our country on what constitutes campaigning and what constitutes the use of, state resources and what it is when a government is out there doing its job. I mean, I think there is clarity on that.
Their concerns would be valid.
And we do. Those are very, very valid concerns. And they are concerns that even we ourselves at the Commission are looking at. And we do have the Office of the Ombudsperson in this country, whose role is also to check on those issues, especially very specific mandated to look at issues of use of state resources, and we are looking to cooperate with those agencies to see what we can do to be able to take action. And as I said, the Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee will be sitting around from Thursday to look at those very specific cases, and we encourage more of those reports to come to us so that we can be able to take action.
Professor, in your experience, the issue of whether it's come up in previous times, the use of the incumbent government, of the government resources in the campaign. How do you handle that?
It's an international problem, really it is, because it's difficult to demarcate, because by virtue of the fact that Parliament, closes and all parties are free to go and campaign, doesn't mean that the country doesn't have a government. So on a given day, a minister is going somewhere to open, a dam.
And smartly so.
Yeah, around the elections.
Yes.
And that's not illegal to open a dam around elections. So there are things that are done and they are perceived to be that, right? There are things that may be done and as a commission you realize, no, this is out of line.
Yes.
Then my advice would be that the commission must engage with the political parties. I think one of the speakers made the point there that it is not the law that makes the elections. It is the people who makes the elections.
Yes.
So maybe this is the hour, or the time for the IEBC to say, we are balancing out. The law is now clear, if it is clear,
yes,
but now we need to engage with the people, with the institutions, with the structures,
okay,
to articulate the code of conduct, to point out to those whom we feel are allegedly transgressing the code of conduct. And I think those kinds of actions build confidence.
Yes,
because as you were saying, action in the process, meaning I'm not saying that charging them, but seeing that there is concern on the part of the commission.
Right.
People will say, no, that they've been warned, things like that. So it gets people to see that the commission is marshalling everyone towards this particular election.
In terms of just preparedness, people want to know if you're really ready. 55 days to go, actually going to less than 55 days to go. And what can Kenyans expect? I mean, we're now, you know, we've awarded Al Ghurair the tender to print the ballots. What can Kenyans expect to wrap their minds around 14,500 positions, candidates rather, for over 1,800 positions? Like, how will this look on the physical day? And are you ready for this?
I think we are absolutely ready for the elections. I'm happy that we have proceeded well with getting the ballot papers. So we have that contract signed, and we are hoping that we are working very hard to ensure that by about 25th of this month we can start the printing of the ballot papers. We want to ensure that the entire process is very transparent. Chairman Chebukati has reached out directly to the political leaders and asked the political leaders to have participants, representatives from the political parties, representatives from the media, representatives from other actors to accompany us through this process, to go with us to Dubai, the technical team to Dubai, to see how, to monitor the process from the beginning to the end, to the packaging, to ensure that there is transparency and to ensure, to really show what it is that we are doing, because we are only arbiters in a process on behalf of the Kenyan people. Last word, any cause for concern that your IT head is on forced leave and the procurement director is as well fired? I think, Mark, we've proved that we have capable institutions that are able to take over even when one staff is away. So I think we've proved ourselves. We saw how the candidate registration management system worked. The technology worked very well. We tested the technology on Friday in the presence of the media and the presence of all stakeholders under the supervision of our acting director of ICT, and the system worked, and we'll continue testing it. We have full confidence in the capability that we have as an institution, both in the procurement division and the ICT directorate. Lastly, Professor Mandla, your word you said on the voters and their place, their voice in this.
Yes, maybe before I talk about the voters, one issue that came out there, which I think is really worth mentioning here, is the issue of the campaign finance legislation. Okay. I think that legislation is not in place, and it's causing concern. Okay. So perhaps what needs to happen is that the Commission must try to go into that space and see whether amongst or between the parties there's some kind of agreement that can be entered into. To me, it looks like a worrying thing. Then on the voters, lastly, I would like to say the voters now must be engaged. So now it's time for communication. It's time for what you're doing. It's time for people to actually feel that they are more important. The impression I get, I arrived on Sunday, the impression I get is that the political parties, are larger than life. It's about the voters. Yeah, so but I'm just saying, what about the voters?
Thank you very much, Professor and Daktari, for your time. And this is a conversation that continues. Preparedness is what we'll be questioning and hoping for moving into the closer to the August 8th election date.